Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Once again, I am Cowbells, and welcome to my beautiful home under the bridge. I didn't always live under a bridge. In fact, I used to live up where the sun was beautiful, and then the ways that words change, the ways that people change, has put my place too under a bridge, and I would like to tell you the story of how I got here. Now, first I would like to start with the definition of a word. Who decides what a definition of the word is? Is it the dictionary, or is it the human, the person? And what dictionary? Canada goes off one dictionary, while the United States goes off another, all because legal reasons. Yay! Anyways, over time, the meanings of words change. One of the biggest and most dramatic changes of the definition of the words that I have noticed over time, actually from family members who have collected dictionaries over the ages, is love and marriage. The definition has changed quite a bit. Marriage, of course, being from the man having total control to control being shared. And then there's the word fag that used to mean a bunch of sticks. It definitely doesn't mean a bunch of sticks anymore. And there are a bunch of people who get really upset when people say things like that. Bringing me to the issue of the week that everyone's heard of a million times. There was an individual who was Mexican and gay, and if somebody called him a gay Mexican in an angry way, it becomes hate speech. So to me, the next question becomes, what do we do about people who spout hate speech? Now, it's one thing to say gas all the Jews or what any horrible thing, Sandy Hook never happened, or anything like that. We can't say that those things that definitely happened never happened, because it's clear that there are a lot of people that will attach themselves to those ideas and decide that they understand them, decide that they know. And the reason why these idiots are doing these things is we can no longer trust the establishment of scientific evidence and research anymore. We can no longer trust to get one scientist on one side to give a competent idea without having two other scientists rip them down. We can no longer trust scientists with science. Actually, if we go back, we find out that it was more difficult as time goes back. But today, there are more people, now more than ever, that are questioning science because of issues with big pharma. We all know that there is problems with the medical scene. And we all know damn well, because there's so many people dying right now from minor situations that we should be able to pay for, but can't actually pay for, can't get time off to treat, and they just die. So at this time, that is an unconscionable thing. And we are living with unconscionable things in the USA, not so much Canada. But with that in mind, that we are living with an establishment in 2000, we're getting up on 2020. We have an establishment that refuses to take care of their own people for financial reasons and would rather gear towards military. So, in these times when things like this are evident, it's unconscionable for the average person to think the establishment is working for them as citizens and not for itself, which once again is unconscionable. And because of this, we have people on the left, that's the liberal, going so far they become retarded, going so far that they put on masks, going so far that they destroy things and hit people in the head with bike locks. Eric Clanton, that's not how we do things. But since we are in such an unconscionable situation that the poor and the meek who don't have the means to defend themselves or lobby or even argue are doing so badly that they can't seek medical assistance for basic things, it starts to seem like the top is out to get you. So yeah, that's why we have issues with people and vaccines, because nobody trusts the establishment anymore, because the establishment fucks around, and we all know it, and we can all see it. Now, I'm not saying the Canadian setup is okay. We have long wait times. In the States, you don't have long wait times, but if you have money, you're getting your help. That's the reason you don't have any wait times, because people are dying on the streets that should be in there making up for your wait times. I can personally 100% tell you that I have information on this, that I know people within the medical establishment within the USA. If you break your leg and if you want to go to a hospital, you don't know what you're going to be paying. The price that you're going to pay is on a chart that no one gets to see in a back room, and it never matches the same chart as any other hospital, and that's unconscionable. So I think I've gone over why nobody trusts the medical establishment anymore. So I think it's safe to say that, especially when you think of the for-profit jails, the for-profit medical areas within the United States, it does kind of seem that the establishment is an oppressive patriarchy. And if not a patriarchy, then at least oppressive to begin with. And I could definitely see that. I could definitely understand that. But one of the things that interests me is in Canada, we are appropriating cultural hatred. Not for any minority, but for the establishment. We don't have the same problems that the USA has, but we get the same response that the people in the USA get. Let's check the facts, ladies and gentlemen. The Underground Railway ended in Canada. I'm not saying there are no racists in Canada, because that is definitely far from the truth. But within Canada, we have so much space that if we don't like someone, we just move away from them, and we have all the space in the world. Now, once again, I'm not saying we don't have racist and bigoted people. They definitely exist there, but we have ways of dealing with them that are reasonable. And they are reasonable in the way where if they have an issue, they just don't even open their mouths. It's okay to have your own opinion. Everybody does. But when it starts to hurt people, then that's where it starts to run into problems. So, generally, we just don't say boo. Now, in Canada, we've reached a time when the homosexual community is a part of us, and we are totally behind them 100%. I identify as part of the alliance. But after a certain point, with this newly discovered and realized minority of people, we have to understand how they operate differently than everybody else. Because sometimes minorities have their own thing, but at the same time, if a minority has an unconscionable trait or does something that is against basic human values, it's our responsibility as citizens to make sure that those issues are not kept. And then, where's the line here then, right? Genital mutilation. We don't want our daughters to have their genitals mutilated so that they can't have fun later in life. But it happens. It happens in Canada, but we've made rules against this because it's an unconscionable thing that we had to make rules against. Now, it's only been a short period of time that the homosexual alliance, the LGBTQ plus, has been in power and has been respected. And not only respected, but we are, as social justice warriors, there are many of us who are willing to take care of the homosexual community. We are very, very sensitive to the homosexual community's lifestyles, etc. But we do have one thing that's an issue. Homosexuals had to be underground. And homosexuals, since they got to enjoy, some of them, not all of them, since they got to enjoy the availability not to impregnate each other, have a habit of going a bit debaucherous. And honestly, Lord love them, because, man, sometimes you just need a bit of debauchery to have a good time. But this debauchery should be kept behind closed doors and not in public sight. Now, one thing that constantly makes me laugh is I will talk about a homosexual park in Toronto, the GTA, that everybody knew about. I learned about it in 2001. It just got shut down now in 2019, where openly gay people went during the daylight to have sex and play with themselves as, I'm not even going to finish that. Anyways, okay, openly homosexual people in the daylight, in a park, with families there. You want to look this up? Look this up. Toronto police crack down on public sex in Marie Curtis Park. Mariecurtis. And there'll be a story about it. Now, a lot of people that I talk to about it, I'll show them this story, and they will tell me, Nevin, this isn't an issue with the gays, this is an issue with you. This is a hateful article. And they won't elaborate, but it seems to be what they're saying is homosexuals should be free to do whatever they want because they're oppressed. And I would argue that absolutely they are oppressed, and we should deal with it and make sure that they don't become oppressed. But this is a small fraction of the homosexual community that we have known about for nearly 20 years, and we haven't done anything about it. The locals knew about it, but nobody would touch it. The homosexual community had their time to call it and say, no, we can't do this anymore. Everybody knew about it. But many people, instead of dealing with this, choose to celebrate it as part of their sexuality. And while someone may identify it as part of their sexuality, this is still inappropriate public sex that straight or gay people should not be engaging in. Now, some people would even say it's hate speech for me to even bring this up because they're sensitive. And many of these sensitive people are upset by these facts, even though these facts are true. They're upset that I would even talk about it. But there is a situation here. Homosexuals need to realize that they need to be reasonable, just like everybody else. And you know what? Most homosexuals, I apologize to most homosexuals or part of the alliance that know exactly what I'm talking about and think I am talking about them. I do not believe that the majority of the alliance are like this. I think it is a very small amount, and I believe that there are many of them who are also as disgusted as me. But it is up to us as reasonable individuals to have open dialogue and be able to call each other on our bad ideas or habits. And public sex in public parks where children can see is an unconscionable event. And we can't have this anymore. We don't want the police to deal with this because this is a social issue. We don't want it to be a political issue. But as social beings, we need to shut this kind of stuff down. Not because we hate homosexuals, but because we love parks and we love our children being able to play in places where people aren't openly having public sex. I feel bad for people who are unable to have sex with whoever they choose, but if you have to have public sex because you have to hide it from your spouse, you're lying to yourself, and I feel horrible for you, and I hope you make it. But seriously, man, get a tent or something. I would like to close with this. It's not our responsibility to accept everything that a homosexual does. It's our responsibility to make sure that everybody of every race and every color have equal rights, and that they are able to express their rights. And these rights should be reasonable. These rights should be based off facts and not so much about feelings. Personally, I grew up in a small village myself, and nobody understood me. I had a hard time making friends, even though there were regular, reasonable people out there that I was good friends with, and I could make friends with. I just couldn't find this caliber of individual in a small town of under 2,000 people. So I went online. I was so good at going online, I was so good at the internet that it became my profession. I was so good at computers that it became my profession. Now, during this time, I was told by many people that I'm not living a real life, that my friends aren't real friends, and that the life that I'm living is hurtful for me, and that I don't conform to their ideals of a reasonable real life. Does that sound familiar? It's a good thing that these people were talking about me and the way I choose to live my life online, and not by my sexuality or the type of person that I choose to be with. You see what I'm saying? I was definitely hurt by these individuals, by these hurtful things, made me feel uncomfortable. It made me feel disenfranchised. It made me feel like they were discriminating against me and my life. And I do feel like a minority. There are a minority of people out there that just can't connect with anyone around them. And because of that, the people around them drive them into the ground. And because of that, a lot of these people end up on 4chan. A lot of these people end up on Poll. A lot of these people feel disenfranchised. Many of these people, males, if they don't have the right X, Y, or Z, can't even get a woman. So they become incel, and they become a problem. And we don't want to deal with them because they're men. We don't want anything to do with them because they're men, and they're angry. Nobody cares unless you're pretty or dying, or you're part of the alliance. Oppression affects us all, and it scatters us in all directions as if we were hit by an RPG or something explosive that just gave area of effect damage, exploding us into all different directions. Sometimes it explodes us out into the alliance, and sometimes it explodes us onto the dark web. And we all collect our feelings, and we all build them up, and we all come together in the middle. And that middle is politics. We want the government to defend and to control social situations with legal repercussions. Now, what if I was to say to you that some of the people that discriminated against me the most were people who became part of the alliance, who were always openly gay and saying that everybody can be whatever they want except you, because you don't talk to people face to face all the time, because you don't find people of your caliber that you are interested in sharing discussions with in real life. You are not a real person, and your friends aren't real, but all of mine are. And if you say that there's anything wrong with mine, then I'm going to take you to court, I'm going to take you to the principal's office, I'm going to take you to the police. We all have emotions, and if we're all going to put legal considerations to emotions, we're all going to burn in hell. Those are my thoughts for today. Once again, I'm Knowbellz, and this has been Under the Bridge with me. Now, the big thing about freedom of speech is we have the right to have freedom of speech so that we can call people on their bad ideas, so we can understand what we say. Sometimes we don't even understand how we think until we say it, and then we realize we say something stupid. So I would like to know if there's anyone out there who thinks I have said something stupid, who thinks I am wrong and that I should learn. I am here and I am open to learn, and that seems to be the best thing to do on the internet. If you have an issue, you tell people your issue. You tell people what you think the answer is and what the issue is, and they will tell you if you're full of shit, and they will do it so fast. So here I am. That's my opinion. I believe I'm a reasonable person, a reasonable troll. I didn't mean to be a troll, but this is the life that has been given to me, I suppose. Once again, I'm so far left I'm spinning in circles. That's just how things go. Anyways, that's it from me today. Knowbellz, the internet troll. Take care of each other. Get some sunlight, goddammit.